Hi, my name is Levi.
And I'm Patrick.
And this channel is called Levi and Patrick Went to the Movies, where we discuss a movie that we both love every week, every Tuesday. Please like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, because someday soon we'll be talking about a movie that you love. Today we are going to be talking about Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge. This is one of those weird memory things. So I remember coming home from work, and I was in like my scrubs because I worked at a nursing home in the kitchen. And my father had said, they had watched the movie before I was home, and they said, you're not going to like it because it's like a musical. And I wasn't a fan of musicals, I'm still not really. But I remember my sister was in the computer room, which was off of the living room, and during the two songs, Elephant Love Medley, and I think it might have been Come What May, she came out to watch them with me. And then I remember loving the movie, and I remember telling my dad, like, you were wrong, I loved it. But that's not possible because the movie came out in 2001 and I was in 7th grade and I did not have that job. The memory of my dad saying you're not going to like it and they'd already seen it and me coming home and watching it is a real memory, but I don't know where I was or why I would be gone when I was in like 7th grade.
Interesting.
Yes. So that is the experience of watching it, but all of the context around it is completely false. We'll never know.
I remember it was in high school. It was years after the movie had come out. So I remember seeing a trailer for it and being like, okay, I don't know what that is. Burlesque thing. Cool. Never saw it. And then got around to seeing it because people were talking about it in the library. I loved Phantom of the Opera. I had seen that 9th or 10th grade. Because that was also 2001. This came out in 2001?
Yeah.
Wow, good year for musicals apparently. Anyway. So I saw it and I absolutely loved it. I was blown away. I cried the appropriate moments. Everything was awesome. And I had no idea why these people in the library of high school talking about it said that they didn't like it.
I wonder if a lot of people who didn't like it only remember the first 15 minutes or didn't make it past the first 15 minutes. Because the first 15 is just this frenetic paced, so many edits, and it's like there's a lot of weird shots and the characters are so rapid fire and they're all really weird and it's just this mash of this crazy song cutting everywhere and it's very
overstimulating.
Yeah, and weird. Obviously the movie levels out a little bit.
Here and there.
Yeah, it's still pretty chaotic, but that opening is just a barrage of
which is something I love about a lot of Baz Luhrmann's style, particularly with Romeo plus Juliet. Obviously, Australia and The Great Gatsby are a little more low-key with still some of Luhrmann's style. But this one and Romeo plus Juliet are all colorful, fast-paced, in your face, and like quick cuts and people's facial expressions with like sound effects. People like move and it cuts, it's like whoosh, sound effect, that kind of thing. The style is so unique. I don't know if I've ever seen another movie that even comes close to this type of feeling. It's almost like a live action cartoon in some moments. I am a fan of like the romantic era, etc., from Hunchback of Notre Dame, Les Mis, historically, artistically, etc. And this movie really embodies a lot of that. Well, the whole bohemian thing, the truth, beauty, love, freedom, etc., all these notions, especially in art and in the human experience versus, like traditional, not that it's not a traditional storytelling style, but it's so well done and it really, really encapsulates all of the themes in the movie. The movie embodies them at the same time that the characters in the movie are trying to embody them while they're promoting the thing that they're living inside of. And it's really well done.
I don't sing. I'm not good. But This Is Your Song that he sings to her when she's like thinking he's the Duke and he's doing poetry, and the Elephant Love Medley, both parts. When I lived in Minneapolis, I would drive around at night just belting out those songs. And I had a friend who used to come with me, and hopefully she keeps good secrets and never recorded me. But what's fun is that when you're living a time of your life, how should I put this? Life is continuous, and you don't really realize things have ended until you look back on them, okay? And chapters form in your life, but
only in retrospect.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one of those things, living in Minneapolis in my early 20s, and it was just driving around at night and going to this art school and singing along to Moulin Rouge, that those are now memories of a time in my life that this movie I'll associate with when I watch it because I think of that time. It's interesting how we talked about before that movies can be cemented in who you are as a person. And this is one of them, which is funny because
you're not romantic at all.
No, I'm no singing in my household in the future.
Yeah.
It'll be like Footloose, except singing.
Sing loose?
Sing.
Voice loose?
Ew.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, no loose.
No. I had been trying to get my brother to watch this for ages. Yeah. So one night, he, with his girlfriend at the time, was like, hey, I need a really romantic movie to watch with my girlfriend. And I was like, well, I have one that I've been pushing on you for ages. And he finally watched it and he loved it. And it was like, yeah, there we go. All right, cool. I love when other people love something that I love and they didn't think they were going to.
Yeah, it was interesting the first time I put it on though, because I was like, wait, I remember the Huns attack at the beginning, and her father's like sick, and so she has to go train with the Chinese army in his stead as a boy. And then I realized that movie was Mulan. No Rouge.
No Rouge.
So.
Oh man.
But then when I watched Mulan, it's like, hey, where's the singing hookers?
Where's the singing hookers? Small side story. I remember Mulan came out kind of at the same time as Godzilla, 1998, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to go see Godzilla, but I had a bad headache, and so I had to stay home. And Mom and them went to see Mulan instead, because I was the only one who wanted to see Godzilla. And Mom came home and told me that Mulan was great, and also that Mulan was beating Godzilla in the box office. And I got really mad. I was very upset with Mom. I was like, I don't want to hear this news.
Yeah, it'd be your own blood.
It do. As with a lot of great movies, video games, novels, etc., the beginning of the piece of art, in a way, is kind of self-knowing. It knows the end. So the beginning of the movie always knows what the end of the movie is. Even if, the characters don't, we don't, etc. So the end of a movie is kind of set up in the beginning, which we talked about with the Prestige, etc. And this is more evident, not just in like a stylistic or like, a hidden thing way. The beginning of this movie is Ewan McGregor starting to write his story, which is this movie. He's writing this movie. This is all him telling it on his typewriter. He's talking about the stuff, trying to get into it, and he gets to the point where he's like, the woman I loved is dead. So we know right away that she dies at the end. And it's almost like, well, he says it really quietly, so maybe you don't catch it, but we do end up kind of forgetting about it until the moment she like breathes up on the thing and starts to, she passes out and falls off the swing.
I think, doesn't it zoom in on the word dead on his typewriter?
I know he like turns to the side and like whispers it, kind of.
Yeah, that shot of her on the swing when she is it when she first shows up? But anyway.
After her song, yeah.
Yeah, it cuts to but not when she falls, I think like right away, maybe. I don't know. There's a shot of her and then it cut to a shot of the end when her head tilts back as she's dying.
Yes.
So the first time you see Satine is also when you see her death.
Yes. Other glimpses and shots. Even like the black and white or sepia one a little bit later where it's going through Montmartre into the Moulin Rouge. A lot of those shots are used again later in color when he's going back to the Moulin Rouge to give her the money toward the end.
Yeah, like 2 minutes later.
No. Well, yes, but also no. There's more later on when it's like after he yells at Toulouse, when it's zooming into him going to give her the money at the end.
Yeah, I just thought you meant at the
Zoom
beginning.
through the streets.
There's like shot of that like sad dude and a bunch of other shots of Moulin Rouge, and then he says, "But when I arrived, it was great." And it's that same guy who's happy.
Yes.
It's all color. That's what I thought you were talking about.
Oh, well, pretty sure that same guy and some of the hookers, I don't know, standing on the side. They're to the right of the screen. She like looks in. They're later when it's zooming in. It's been a minute since I saw it, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, the point is that it shows us things that come back later.
Every character you see in the opening comes back in the next few scenes.
Yes, absolutely. So the beginning of the movie starts kind of sad. It starts with Toulouse with his "There Was a Boy," that little song, before it goes in. We see him at his typewriter. A lot of it doesn't have a lot of color. We'll get the flashes of color, but most of it's kind of colorless. While he's talking about, dead, there's a lot of blue before we get into like the red of the action in a little bit. So the movie starts sad-ish, and we know that it's going to end with her dead. And then we back up and get to like, when I was young and moving here and believing in love, but had never been in love. And then it goes into all the happy happy stuff. We get into the Moulin Rouge, and it's all fast-paced and colorful and happy, and singing and everything. Toulouse's plan is about to work. When Satine first comes in, down on the swing, her first line is, "The French are glad to die for love," which is exactly her whole character's plot thing. Not that she's dying for love, like she has a choice.
Or she's French.
Yes. But it's just fitting for her character, because her whole arc is falling in love and unfortunately dying, but choosing love versus the other things. I don't know. Not that she's dying for love.
Oh, so if she had just said the words die and love, it would apply?
Yes. But it's
Her first line is, "I love to dine on good food." And dine sounds like dying, and love sounds a lot like love. Not that she was going to die for food.
But she does eat.
We don't know.
That's true. She does skip a lot of suppers with the Duke.
That's true. And it's called Moulin Rouge, not Moulin Food. The main line of the movie, the lesson, the magical Zitar says is, "The greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return." Almost. And so the song opens that, like, "He was a boy, a very special boy." And I always thought that was I thought the line of the movie was that there was a song that was that, and then they changed the words to fit the script. Okay? And I never really thought about it. However, the other day at work, we put on this movie called The Boy with Green Hair. And the credits started, the opening credits, and it was that song, verbatim. And even the whole "the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to love." And I was just sitting there with my jaw dropped, because it was like, I didn't know this was a thing. And then what are the odds that we're watching it now? And anyway, so unfortunately, I think an unintended consequence, side effect, is that when I watch Moulin Rouge now, I'll be thinking about this 1950s movie about a kid with green hair.
I touched on this, obviously. The style is so unique with all the colors, the fast-paced cuts and motion and everything, but the facial expressions are over the top, very comical, and sometimes it'll cut to just someone's face, something else cut back to them with a different facial expression, because a lot of it is not like the realistic, this is what the characters are going through. It's very cartoon feeling and very emotional. The faces the characters make, although they're over the top, give you a glimpse of that emotion, which is what you're feeling multiple different things in the moment. Whether it's something like awkward or embarrassing that happens, or something like they're all having a great time, and just like cut to someone's face, like for a moment, cut to something else, somebody else dancing. It doesn't show their faces to be like, this is what the character's feeling in this moment because of this. It's just another emotion that adds up to what you're feeling during the scene. So that type of fast-paced, non-traditional imagery is more for the feeling you're having instead of the actual, like, I don't know, plot. I don't know how to articulate this.
Yeah, but you're doing great.
Good.
No, I was thinking about the editor of this movie. Edited by Jill Bilcock. There's so many cuts in this movie, and so many. You think about, not only did they have to film all of these shots, someone had to put them all together.
Yeah, how many different versions of some of these scenes were there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Baz comes in and he's like, okay, well, I need like these 3 shots up here, and like this facial expression has to be right there. So like, man, I wonder how stressful that was to like do it again and again and again to try to get it right.
Yeah, the movie definitely does not take place in real life. I mean, all movies obviously exist on their own. As long as the movie establishes its own rules, it can get away with not having to follow real life rules. And this movie definitely is established immediately. All bets are off in terms of how these characters move, how they interact, how they speak. You just accept that they sing all the time. That's traditional for musicals. But just the zany style of the cinematography and the editing sets up the zany style of everything that follows. And what's cool about that is the story is actually a very traditional drama story. You could easily see this movie presented by, some super serious filmmaker. It's a love story set in Paris in 1860 or whatever. And you could have all of the story beats be super dramatic. But what's cool about this movie is even though that it's hyper real, the emotional beats land the same as if it was a drama movie.
Almost better.
Really effective and cool.
And there are so many emotional moments that hit really, really, really well.
That's what I just said. Oh, there are sad moments that are really effectively sad. And there are happy moments that are really effectively happy.
That's what I just said.
Speaking of moments that land, though, my favorite is when the bad hooker shows up randomly, whispers in the Duke's ear, "Oh, isn't it funny that she chooses the poor guy and not the rich guy?" And then the Duke is like, yeah. And then he's like, "I think the ending should be rewritten." You know, that is
pretty good.
Yeah, thanks. And then Ian McGregor's like, "Because she doesn't love you!" And then they all stop. He's like, "Him! She doesn't love him!" And just, it's so great.
It is.
You feel like you got caught with them. Like you react the same way. You know what? That's cool. The movie gives you all of these exaggerated facial expressions of all of these different characters reacting to all these different things, which then allows you as the viewer to react appropriately with like an exaggerated... You know, like you get to play along a little bit. The one part of the movie that I might add a line or two here and there is that bad hooker chick. Because she's in the dance number scene of like Roxanne, which is amazing. And at the beginning she makes a comment about will Nicole Kidman be able to perform her job when she's sick. So
I think that Duke's gonna get his money's worth tonight.
Right. And they're like, "Shut up, Sarah," or whatever her name is.
Don't be unkind,
yeah.
Lily.
Subtext. And then and then she shows up
You mean paraphrase.
way later and says the bit about, "Oh, they must be in love," or whatever. Hint, hint. And it just feels very mean and out of nowhere, and also she kind of screws herself a little bit even, because if the Duke leaves, the Moulin Rouge is gone, so she's out of work, maybe. I just think that it's a great moment, but I would have liked maybe just one more scene with her being a bee.
An incentive for her to turn against Nicole Kidman.
Right. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be anything super dramatic, like, I was supposed to be Zidler's favorite. Like, you don't have to do any of that. Just one more little moment. Just one.
A lot of the shots are canted. We're like...
Yeah, there's a name for that.
Tilted?
No, there's like a cinematography name.
Cinematographically tilted?
Oh.
Angled?
No, it starts with a D.
Directionally changed?
Dutch.
Dutch?
I think.
We'll look it up.
I'm pretty sure. Dutch angle. Pretty sure.
Yeah. A lot of the shots where he's up on the ladder in the beginning, standing in for the narcoleptic Argentinian. A lot of the shots are angled so that when he's standing up at the top of the mountain, you know, it's like the peak of the shot. So they're all like that. Obviously a lot of like the dancing and other things, you know, the camera like moves like in the direction that it's moving. It'll like tilt in that direction that it's going. So a lot of the movie is almost disoriented in a way here and there just on the framing, let alone the cuts. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of extreme close-ups on people's faces too. I love so many of the sound effects. Like when they're pitching the play in The Elephant to the Duke and he's sitting there and Ziedler is like coming up and talking to him, whatever he says, but he goes like this and he goes around to the other side and he goes and he goes on the way back.
Yeah.
It's just so funny, just his little and it's like, you know, sped up. Oh yeah, a lot of the shots and cuts and different things are sped up or slowed down. Sometimes it's really effective for like, I don't know, it's like everything together with the camera moving, the fast pace and the slow down and the close-ups and back and forth. I don't really know how to describe this style. Lord knows I've tried several times. One of the big things about this movie is the play that they're putting on in the movie is the movie. A lot of the lines in the play they actually have in their real life love story. Like the "Thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession with love."
Yeah, and obviously the evil Maharaja is the Duke, and the penniless sitar player is the writer. And
What? Yeah.
And the hooker is the... Kidding, she's not a hooker.
Yeah.
What is she?
Courtesan.
That's fancy hooker.
Yeah, it's a fancy hook.
What's fun about that is when they talk about the play initially, when they first pitch it to the Duke, it's kind of the whole story of the rest of the movie. So
Yes.
relatively early on, you get the blueprint for all that's going to happen.
Yeah. Because even the Duke is like, and in the end, should someone die? Yes.
And then also the main one is the magical Zatar says, the greatest love you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return. And then that's what he says in real life in the movie.
Yes.
When he falls down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Just a little thing. As a younger man, I don't know, as a kid, I never really liked the idea of a magical instrument in the play.
Yeah.
I always thought it should have been something else, but it's like a weird specific opinion to have on meaningless. Yeah. I also, as a kid, the beginning opens with the 20th Century Fox logo with the curtains, and there's a conductor like freaking out.
I love that.
Man, he must be so tired if he has to do that for more than 30 seconds.
Well, he does the whole movie.
Well,
he's there at the end when the curtain closes.
Yeah.
He's there the whole time.
The
He just descends
being...
out of scene. We don't see him, but he's there. Well, obviously movies have the movie's music underneath their titles and stuff. You know, Harry Potter, Warner Brothers, etc. But with Moulin Rouge and the Simpsons movie, it's funny that the characters or something in the movie assists with the production's logo and music. Like, you know, the conductor thing. In the Simpsons movie, it's Ralph with the for the 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
I just really like that kind of thing where it's not, is it a fourth wall? I don't think so.
Meta, I would
Yeah,
think.
it's just like a meta where the movie comes out of the movie to the production company, which is like the bookend of the real life movie barrier. I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because none of the other characters break the fourth wall, but there's this conductor that has existed on screen breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And then he shows up again at the end. And it's a deliberate choice to put him in the movie. So he is in there. So in the movie Moulin Rouge, there is a guy that is conducting production company music for the audience in real life.
Yeah. Well, and also, the curtain opens for the movie's titles.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bridge between... Because movies in general have opening and closing credits, generally. And you would never say, oh, the credits are breaking the fourth wall. Even though it is fun to think about that when you're watching the opening of a movie, it'll say, like, directed by, like, this is a real person, right? But something like the opening of Moulin Rouge with the conductor and the Simpsons movie with Ralph, it's like, it's an extra step in between because it's more of an interaction with the world because this conductor and this is a set, it's this character in a setting in the world. I don't know.
Something fun we were talking about. Characters in this movie from other movies. Obviously, actors do a whole bunch of things. But Ewan McGregor was Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars prequels.
Yeah, which came out around the same time.
Oh, yeah. When did Van Helsing come out?
Like 2007.
Really?
Yeah, because we were doing that. It was when we did Into the Woods. Because my friend and I skipped out on one of the rehearsals when they were building the sets to go see Van Helsing on opening night.
Well, that would have been 10th or 11th grade, not senior.
So then 06, 07.
Cool. Well, anyway, Faramir from Lord of the Rings. He plays Audrey at the beginning. He was also in Van Helsing, which also had the Duke as Dracula.
And then both he, Faramir, and Hugh Jackman and Nicole Kidman were in Baz Luhrmann's Australia.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So they're all together in that one. That's nice.
Yeah.
And then Jim Broadbent Harold Ziegler was Professor Slughorn in Harry Potter 6. It's hard to describe a lot of the moments in this movie that land really well and really emotionally because they're complex. You know, a lot of things lead up to like the one moment or like the moment is just a facial expression or a sound inside of like the bigger emotional moment. But there are so many really good lines that are really strong that hit you. Oh, yeah, duh, okay. There's these two other songs, right? The Like a Virgin song, Madonna song, with the Duke and Harold Ziegler. It's so funny. It's so good. They're hilarious. And one of my other favorite, really powerful songs is The Show Must Go On. When he tells her she's dying, and she has to go say that she doesn't love him so that she can still be in this play for the Moulin Rouge. It's really sad, really strong, and they're just like belting it out. It's really, really loud and powerful.
Yeah, the song I really like is The Roxanne, where the Venezuelan? Argentinian, that was the right comment, is describing about, you know, don't fall in love or whatever. And while he's singing that song, they're doing like the tango with the stomps and the sharp movements.
Oh, yeah.
While Ian McGregor is like walking down the street, like crying at the sky, and Nicole Kidman is about to get raped. And it's just all culminating in this incredible barrage of music. And then the Come What May song obviously is awesome. And I think is that where the Duke is, I found a frog! He's trying to like squish a frog, which is just hilarious in a little moment in this song. I do love how the Duke is so oblivious. Like, he catches on at some points where he'll like, when he first bursts in and Ian McGregor...
Foul play.
Yeah, and he's like, you expect me to believe? Whatever, and then they all show up.
But then, what kind of imbecile you take me for, Zila? Right before the, like, a virgin.
Yeah, and so there are... Oh yeah, because he says she's confessing.
She's what?
Yeah. But he's gullible, I guess. He's easily...
naive.
Duped. And I love the moment where the gun... That shot where the camera moves with the gun as it slides on the ground and he stops and turns around and picks it up and he goes to shoot.
It's like running up the aisle.
Yeah.
Yeah, ugh.
Which then when the gun gets kicked out of his hand, it like bounces off the Eiffel Tower.
Oh yeah, well earlier...
Fits with the cartoonish.
Yeah, in the whole Moulin Rouge, the initial song, the Voulez-vous, when they all... take off your hats, and they all throw them up. There's a faraway shot of Paris. You can see all the little hats
like
coming up.
Big.
Yeah. So that kind of cartoonishness, so that comes back, with the gun.
Yeah. But I love after that when Satine dies and the camera pans up out of the Moulin Rouge and you see the Duke just walking in the snow out. And it's such a great shot and also weirdly makes you feel for the Duke. Because, yeah, he's a douche. A douche. But he also kind of gets a raw deal in that everyone keeps secrets around him. No one respects him at all.
He's spending all this money on something that nobody's willing to give him.
Yeah, and they treat him like a child, and all he wants is to just kiss this girl, and they keep putting it off and off and off. And like, yes, he's a bad guy, so I'm not saying whatever, but in the world of bad guys, his motives are less evil.
More just selfish.
Selfish, right. Which,
Correct.
Yeah, but that's not inherently morally wrong.
Being super wealthy?
No. The idea, I am paying for this service, and he has not gotten it. And what's interesting is he's jealous. It drives him mad, right? Well, that line is in reference to Ian McGregor. But when Ian McGregor is jealous, because he's the good guy and we love him, it's like, oh, yeah. But it's like the same exact emotion over the same girl for the same reason.
It's almost like it's a love triangle.
Not really.
Not really. It's more like a love with a greedy floating vector. I'll stop.
Please. I actually think that Ziedler
He's a bad guy.
Seems more of a bad guy than the bad guy because he knows Satine is dying and they choose to keep it a secret from her because he wants the show. And then when he tells her, it's like manipulation. The show must go on, that song. And he's not doing it because it's like, this is for you, this is your moment. He's doing it because he gave the deeds away to the Moulin Rouge. I also love the part where he finds them together and he tells them, what does he say? He's like...
The infatuation
yes.
will end.
Yeah, and the way he says it is just great. But yeah, he's not in Satine's corner, really, because he knows she's his favorite, but only because she's everyone's favorite. And I think that his motivations on paper are actually worse than the Duke's.
He's hilarious, but he's also
nefarious.
Mean. All right, we'll go with that.
That rhymes. There's the audience at the end. It's all like dudes in suits, and it kind of it is a callback, or it seems it's a visual reminder of the beginning. All the dudes in suits. And so it's funny that it's like I'm going to be a real actress. We're going to do this play. I'm going to be a real actress.
For the same audience.
Yeah, the same people that show up are just the perverts going to the Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
Probably thinking they're going to see that kind of play. Yeah. And instead they're like, what? Magic guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, sitars.
The reprise of the Diamonds Are Girl's Best Friend in the play.
Yeah.
It's really good. Earlier when they're pitching the play to the Duke and Ziedler, like cuts to like that music where Ziedler is pretending to be the Maharaja and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, no one could play him like you could. No one's going to. And then he does play him in the play, but in the play, he's got that evil presence where he's like, she is mine. And the Duke in the audience, she is mine. But also, Ziedler's showmanship ability to cover quickly in a moment when something's going wrong. Earlier when she falls off and he's like, sucked in. And then the guy's like, no, like she's not coming back out. He's like, you frightened her away. But we're going to go on with the show. And then later, when Ewan McGregor and her show up in the play, and everybody's like, and he's like, my eyes are not blind. This is the very same magical sitar player. Like, he's good at covering for his audience real quick. So
Yeah.
it's an admirable trait, I guess.
But also, the audience must be stupid.
Oh, they are. They're also a little further away.
Yeah. But I'll admit, the first time I saw it, it was like, oh, was Ian McGregor the whole time? You know.
Some audiences are dumber than others.
Yeah. So Ian McGregor and the Duke are vying for Satine's attention, and Ziedler wants Satine, not in a romantic way, but in a business sort of capacity interest. And so Satine is actually kind of a tragic character in that she shows up at the Moulin Rouge at some point. It kind of alludes to the fact that she wants to be an actress. I mean, directly. But she just kind of gets used by all the men for their own purposes. And Ian McGregor genuinely loves her, and she loves him, but she doesn't have a lot of agency. And so it's interesting that this character, the one who's physically suffering, she's dying, doesn't really get what she wants.
Well, she does for a minute. She just dies right away.
But even, part of it is, for Ian McGregor's character, it's like never fall in love with a prostitute because she's paid to love you. But then she actually falls in love with him. But who's to say that he doesn't just love her because she was beautiful? And
he's never been in love.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of an interesting... I get that it's a love story, but Satine just kind of outright loses constantly. She has to tell Ian McGregor they're over, but then it's like, they're back on. And then she has to do this for the Duke for Ziedler, who was basically in charge of her, and she even tries to run away at one point, but then he's like, you're dying, and, tell the boy you don't love him because, it'll be better for him. And she really doesn't make any decisions for herself, which is interesting because you don't really feel that way while you're watching it. And I'm not saying this is a criticism of the movie. It's just, it adds to kind of the tragicness of her character.
Yeah, because when he's trying to get her in the first place, she's like, I can't fall in love. Oh, living on the street, that's terrible. And so then she does fall in love, which, is better than her life. So she chooses that. She chooses to be in love with him and to hide it. And she doesn't want to have to listen to Ziedler. So I think the fact that she is dying is the only thing. Because at first, when she's like, I have to end it, but then come what may, so we're still going to keep it a secret. And then, have to go and have supper with the Duke, but then she gets sick. So her actually being told that she's dying, having it confirmed by Marie, is like the only thing that would stop her from getting what she wants. It wasn't going to be the Duke, Ziedler, the Moulin Rouge, the play, her future as an actress, none of it. She would have given everything up for love, except she's actually dying. So yeah, it is very tragic. But I believe that's her agency. She chooses love over everything else. The tragic part is that she can't have it because she's dying from consumption because she loved too much, falsely.
Yeah, I mean, she obviously makes little choices, but I just mean overall, she doesn't get to decide much of anything. As always, if you have seen this movie, if you love this movie, if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it or whatever, please comment and let us know all about it.
Yes. Your favorite moments, even if it's just like a shot or a facial expression or one of the sound effects, some fun little unique thing. I really want to know.
Yeah. Even if it's not unique, you can still tell us.
That's true.
Yeah. Also, subscribe, ring the notification bell, because as we said at the beginning of this video, we put out new movies every week. And next week, we are doing Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. I'm Levi.
I am Patrick.
And this has been Levi and Patrick Went to the Movies, Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge.
I'm going to leave that
I'm a mature man.